localized so that I don't have to go wandering around the job site. So when I bring this onto the job site, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1,000 feet of EMT and stack it right here in these two racks. What that means is that once I wheel this to where I'm working for the day, I don't need to go back and forth between the pile and where I'm working. I can save my back, I can save my time. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break my bundle. I'm going to take 100 feet of that EMT and put it right up here in this rack. So, try not to stab anybody. So it's sitting right up here. Now what I do is I can take my EMT, set it right here on my table. I've got a 60-inch integrated ruler on the top of the table, so I can make all of my measurements right here. This is all at a 36-inch waist level height, and that way I'm not bending over to the ground. What we found in our studies is that when you're bending your EMT, for one bend, you're bending down to the ground an average of about 8 times. You got to get your bender. You got to bend down and make your measurements. You got to bend down and mark. You got to bend down and cut. With all this, we keep it at waist level so that you reduce wear and tear on your back. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I can stick my conduit right here into my vices and safely make all my cuts right here. So the nice thing about that, again, we're all at waist level. Everything is secured. We're going to keep it all nice and neat. And there we go. Make my cut. Now I continue on. So now, when I'm going to bend, when we get to the actual bending of the knife, I take my conduit and set it right down here on these little shelves that are adjustable, okay? Now, if I'm bending 3/4 inch, I'm perfect right here. If I'm going to bend 1/2 inch, then I unscrew this handle, flip the head around, and screw it into the other side, and then do my 1/2 inch. The nice thing about this is if you come closer, you can see I got a protractor right here. The protractor allows me to make exact bends every time. The great thing about it is that we can calibrate the protractor. So right now it's set at about -3 degrees, -3.5 degrees. The reason we set it at negative degrees is because as anybody who's bent pipe knows, once you bend your pipe, you're going to have some spring back. Every manufacturer has different spring back. That's why we don't calibrate it at a certain degree and make that fixed. You can calibrate it on the job site using an Allen screw on the back of the head. So once we have everything set, put my foot right here and just bend down to 90. All right? Once I'm down to 90, I can take it and check right here on my table. The table is built to square. So I can see right here that I'm off of my 90, and so I need to recalibrate. This machine so that I can get my exact bend every single time. Once it's calibrated correctly and you can do the exact bend every time, what we've estimated is that you're going to save about 30% of your time on the job in your bending. And what that means for our contractors is that we get the job done faster, we get it done more efficiently, and we get it done safer. And in the end, that saves everybody money. That saves everybody money. With that 30% savings in just the bending, and that's not taking into account material handling, what we've come up with is that this machine will pay for itself in 3 weeks. A 3-week return on investment for any contractor, for any tool, is huge. So that's what I bring to the table when someone says, well, it costs $1,800.
Based on how much?
Well, on a $50 an hour labor rate.
But I don't know how much conduit.
What?
How much?
How many bins? How many? Well, this is how we did it. We did it by hours. Okay? So 30% over a 40-hour week times a $50 an hour labor rate will pay for it in 3 weeks.
If you're just bending pipe.
If you're just bending pipe.
If
That's
you're just bending 90s.
Well, 90s, you can do offsets. You can
Do you have a set offset on there?
No, it's not like a Evans table or an Evans bender where you set it in and it does the offset. Evans benders only do offsets. This, you take a look at the markings on the shoe, and it's just like your standard ideal bending shoe, your floor shoe.
Bend and offset.
Okay.
Please. And then bend a saddle for us.
All right, now you're testing. I showed how to do the offset. I am not a professional bender by any means.
We knew you were gonna cause trouble.
No, I just,
Bending I'm still working on. Alright, so I get my pipe in. We got to do measurements. I'm already. That's an ugly offset, and I didn't do my measurements, but this is the idea. All right, just like any floor bending shoe, you can do any bending with this. You can do with a floor bender. It's just off the ground, so it's easier. All right. What questions do you have about it? Is it pretty simple?